Hi there. Thank you so much for being a part of this super fun experience brought to you by Maximize. My name is Payal. I'm an artist and an art educator. I go by the name The Simply Aesthetic on Instagram. Okay, now that we're done with our small little intro, let's dive right into the painting tutorial. So today we are going to be painting a super fun sunset. I've taken all my supplies out like my paints on my palette, my water jar, my canvas, my brushes and a tissue. So the first thing that we are going to do is create a basic sketch. So take the pencil that you have and you're going to be using this pencil to, again, like I said, make a basic sketch. So you're going to mark two dots in the sides, which is going to be somewhere around the middle of your paper, and join the two dots or lines together. So now this is going to separate your canvas into two halves. First half is going to be for the sky and the second half is going to be for the water, right? So making that line really helps because you're able to identify the two halves and paint in those sections. So the first thing that we'll be painting is the sky part. So using my size 12 flat brush, I will be painting the sky section. And I will be using a bunch of different colors and I'll show you each of these colors how they look when they are swatched out. I'm also going to keep my water jar on the right hand side because it's a lot more easier for me to, clean my brush on the right side. Alright, so I have this nice pastel yellow color which is called Naples yellow, and I'm going to mix it in the middle of my palette and add in a bit of water. Every time that you're painting with acrylics, you want to make sure that you are adding a bit of water because this makes your paint a lot more thin down and blendable, and that is the consistency that we need while we're painting with acrylics. So this is the color that we're going for, and using this color and my flat brush, I'm going to apply it in the middle of my canvas. Make sure that you're not going all the way at the top, you're just applying it in this middle section, and then you're going to add a little bit of red to your mix and adding a tiny bit of white to it as well. So you're just going to mix the yellow, the red and the white together. We want to get this nice pastel peach color, and I'll show you the swatch of that color so that you know and you can mix the same exact color. So it's all about working our way with the red, yellow and white until we're happy with this shade of, peach, pastel peach color. And once you're done and you find the color, you're going to apply it at the bottom first near the horizon line, and then you're going to bring it in from the side. So it's going to be left and right through the sides, right? And you're not going to bring it all the way into the yellow. You're just going to stop midway and cover in the sides as well. Alright, so the next thing that I'm going to do is load my brush with some yellow. I'm going to move in this left and right motion and blend that peach color and the yellow color together. Make sure that you're blending in this left and right motion itself and not all over the place, because this counts for a really seamless blend. So you want to make sure that you're moving in one direction. Now the next color that I'm using is the blue shade in my palette, and I'm going to mix it with white, and the minute I mix it with white I get this nice pastel blue color that I need. So I want to make sure that all the colors are nice and pastel in the sky, and that is why I've added white to get that nice light blue shade. So I'll just quickly show you a swatch of the color. So here you can see it's a nice light blue shade, and using this color I will apply it at the top, right, and I'll bring it to the bottom again in this left and right motion. Don't blend it with the yellow right yet, because we'll be using white to blend the two of these colors together, because yellow and blue will together make green and we don't want a very evident sharp green in the sky. So we'll use white to blend them together. So I'll just bring it down in this left and right motion and stop right in the middle so that I have this little white space. And then in my white space, I'll use the white. So you don't need a lot of white space, it's just a little band that's enough. And in that band, I will use white to blend all of the colors together. That is the yellow and the peach that's there and the blue together. And as you can see, as soon as I apply the white, there's a nice and seamless blend. Over here, there's a separation in the colors, right? You can see the blue and then you can see the yellow bit as a separate section and it's not blended. So we're just going to blend it by loading our brush with a tiny bit of yellow, and when we go in that left and right motion, we'll be able to get a nice and smooth blend. So we're done with layer 1. We are going to do the bottom part, that is the water part now, until the sky dries, because we're going to be layering each of these twice to get a nice and solid color definition. So for the bottom, we will be using our blue shade that we mixed for the sky, and the other shade that we will be using is the purple. So I'm going to make some more blue on my palette. So I've just loaded the blue color and the white color, and there's a little bit of white in the other well and a bit of purple, so I get this nice purple, pastel purple shade as well. So like I said, we're going to be trying and mixing all the pastelish colors for this project. So you're just going to mix it and add a bit of water to make it nice and flowy, and you do the same for the blue part as well. Alright, so I have both of these colors with me. So I'm going to quickly show you the swatch of the purple shade. And this is what it looks like. It's a nice light purple color. And this will be for the darker parts of the ocean. So now you're going to be mixing the two colors together. Just like what we did for our sky, we'll be doing the same thing at the bottom. But the only difference is going to be that it's going to be a straight blend and it's just two colors. So you apply blue evenly on the surface in this left and right motion, and at the bottom you'll have the purple. So you just carefully go around the line, and then once you reach half of the paper or half of the canvas, you'll quickly switch to your purple. So here you can see I've made like half of it. Again, cover the sides, because if you want your sides to be covered, you can paint the sides or you can leave it as is as well. That's your choice. And then you are just going to switch to your purple shade. Again, remember to go in that left and right motion, because that makes the blending process very easy. And going in this left and right motion, eventually, since both your paints are wet, you will get a nice and even blend. So for the final blend, I'm just going to clean my brush and then go in this left and right motion so that I get rid of any of the excess paint that I might have on the canvas, and I want to just make sure that the blend is nice and even and smooth. Now both the layers have completely dried out, okay? So you want to make sure that both your layers are dry before you move on to the next step. Now what we are going to do is just repeat the process once again. We're repeating the process because we want to make sure that the colors in our sky and the water are nice and opaque and they are not like light, and I don't want to be able to see the white of the canvas basically. And that is why I go ahead and apply 2 coats of the same mix. But if you wish, you can just stop at 1 coat as well. So making 2 coats is, again, like I said, a personal choice. I like to have it nice and opaque, so I go ahead and make the second coat. Again, the process to make it is very similar to the first layer. You're not doing anything different, you're just repeating the process for both the sky and the water. Alright, so here you can see the canvas looks a lot more opaque this time. So we're going to wait for it to completely dry before we move on to the next step. Okay, so now my canvas is completely dry. So the first thing that I'm going to do is make the sun in the middle. So using my pencil, I'm just going to draw a small circle somewhere in the yellow part of the sky. And why it's in the yellow part is because it's yellow and that's where the sun is, and that's why the yellow light is around the sun and the blue is at the top. And we're going to use our size 6 brush, and we're going to add a little bit of details to the waves. So I'm going to mix a little bit of blue in my palette and add in a little bit of purple. And since that section that I had already had white in it, it got lighter, but I'll add a little more white. You want a color that is slightly darker than the one that you applied, and make sure that it's not as dark as the actual purple color itself. We don't want it to be too dark or too light. We want it to be slightly in the medium when it comes to the darkness. So it has to be darker than the previous layer, but not too dark. So I'm just going to quickly show you the swatch of the color. You'll get the idea. We've mixed our blue and the purple together with a bit of white. So that's the color that we'll be using for the waves. And what I am going to do is just load my brush with a bit of the mix that we just created, and then make sure that I'm getting rid of any excess paint that's on my brush, so you can just move it around. And then I'm just going to make a little bit of these lines or these strokes like this. So the strokes are going to be thicker or bigger at the bottom, and as we move upwards it's going to get smaller. Now don't worry about the perfection of this, because most of the area of the water gets covered because of the palm leaves that we'll be adding in. So just go ahead and add these lines coming from the left and the right side, and some in the middle, so you're going to be covering the entire surface actually with the same color. And so yeah, just go ahead and make these lines. The ones at the bottom are going to be thicker as compared to the ones that are at the horizon line. Alright, the next thing that I'm going to do is make sure that my brush is completely clean, and then I'm going to load my brush with a little bit of white, and we're going to be painting in the color for the sun. So I want it to be a really bright sun. You can also add a little bit of yellow if you wish, but I just want it to be lighter than the background layer, which was of a lighter shade of yellow, and that is why I thought going ahead with the white would be a better idea. So just gone ahead and added my sun in the background with the white shade. Now the next thing that we are going to do is mix our white and a little bit of blue in it, and we're going to start off by marking the reflection of the light, or let's say the sun is shining on the water and it reflects the bright light of the sun, and we're going to be making that. So here's a quick swatch of the white. It has a little bit of gray hint to it, and that is the shade that we want because it's going to be at the background and will layer over this. And we're going to start off by making these little lines. So you're going to start off by smaller lines at the top, and as you go to the bottom you're going to increase the area of these lines. So they're just little strokes, little thin strokes that I'm making. It's nothing really difficult right here. It's just these lines. Make sure that each time you go down we're just increasing the area. Alright, now the next step is to add the brighter light on the water, and for that I'm mixing white in a separate well so that it's just pure white, and we want it to be lighter than the previous layer. And right now over here, instead of making straight lines, I'm going to make these little dots together, and it's like a wobbly line, it's not straight line, and that adds a lot of details to the water. It makes it nice and it shows that it's shining and glowing and glittering. So I really love this little technique. It adds a lot of glow to it, and a lot of detail to the painting with just simple strokes. So just make these little wobbly lines together to make your water shiny. Alright, now that we're done with this, we're going to make the palm leaves. But before that, make sure that the layer is completely dry, alright? So once you're done adding the reflection of the light on the water and the waves details, you're going to sketch out the palm leaves. So I'm going to make 3 leaves coming from the left side, and I'm quickly just going to make a rough sketch with my pencil. And I'm going to make 3 leaves coming out from the right side as well. So it's just a rough sketch of how I want my leaf or the main stalk of my leaf to be. And once I have decided that, you can add as many as you want. It's totally on you. I've added 3 on the left and 3 on the right side. And the mix that I'm making is a nice purple mix. So over here the white was dry, and I mean wet, so because of that the purple got lighter and we need a darker color. So I'm mixing purple with a bit of black. You can also use black as is from your palette. You don't have to mix it with purple, but mixing it with purple adds a really nice undertone to the mix, and it just does not look pure black, and it doesn't stand out in a very awkward way. So I like mixing the darkest color from my palette into the black so that it's not just black that I'm using in my painting. So you're just going to add a bit of water and make the mix. Make sure that your mix is nice and loose, because that will really help you with the strokes of the palm leaves. So here's a quick swatch of the color. I'm not sure if you can see it clearly, but the paint has a slight purple hint to it. Alright, so here we're using our size 2 brush, and now we are going to first sketch out the stalk. So the main sketch that we made, we're going to sketch it out first. And once you make the shape, see how it is. It's thicker at the bottom, and as we move towards the end, it's thinner. So that's how we want it to be. Alright, and then you're going to start making the strokes for the palm leaves. So I'm just making these lines. Alright, and it's a lot easier to move your canvas around at this point to get the nice little strokes, and I'm just making these lines coming out in a curved form, so it's like going in the direction of the leaf as well. Alright, and leaving a little bit of space, you're just going to start making these lines for the palm leaves. So just from the middle, you'll be extending these leaves out. Always remember that your leaves will tint in the direction of your main stem. So they'll never be in this awkward direction. I'm sure a lot of you have seen these palm leaves or the coconut leaves, and you've seen how the leaves are formed. So you're just actually having that in mind. You're going to have that in mind and then try and make the leaves. So once you're done with the right side, you're going to make the left side. So notice how the leaves are again curving in the direction. So you cannot make them just stand straight. You have to make them slightly curve in the direction. If it's on the left side, it's inward curve. If it's on the outside, it's like an outward curve. But at the end of the day, it's always curving in the direction of the main stalk. And now using the same method, you're going to be painting all of these other 5 remaining stalks that you have. Alright, so we are done with all our six palm leaves. Now, one last thing that I want to do is make the main stalk a little more prominent. So, you're just going to load your brush with a bit of the color and then just outline the center to make it more prominent and make it more visible. And it should look like the main stalk is stronger than the leaves, alright? And you need to just block in that area a little bit. So, just going to go ahead and make that for all six of them. Once our painting is completely dry, we're going to do one last thing, and that is sign our painting. We've worked really hard on this painting, so it's time for us to make it uniquely ours by adding in our little signature. So you can use the white paint because it'll stand out on the blackish color at the background. So using a black paint will be too dark and you won't be able to see your sign. So use white to make the signature at somewhere in the right bottom. You can write in your name, your initials, whatever you want to do. And this is it. This is our final painting. I hope you enjoyed watching and painting along with me, and I'm so happy that I got to be a part of this and take you on this wonderful painting journey. If you've painted along with me, do share it with us on Instagram because we would love to see how you guys did. And until then, have a great day. Bye bye.